the 17th episode of the PiP with Khalid and our special guest Zach.
Hey, it's me.
How's it going, everyone?
So, everyone already knows me and Khalid. So let's start off with Zach. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh my god. Well, okay. I've never been here before. My name is Zach. I'm 27. I'm here and I'm ready to mingle. Hopefully everyone loves me. No. I don't know. I'm a pretty simple dude. I like video games. I like sports. I like eating. I like music. Basically. But yeah, I don't have much to say about myself, but I got a lot to say about other things. Like anything. I'll talk about anything. I love to talk about anything. I'm also, if anybody wants, it's onlyfans.com/bigdickenergy. So, go over there and Venmo me $5. We'll see what happens. Just so everybody knows, everybody's interested.
I bet that is actually like an OnlyFans.
I bet it is. It ain't mine, but I bet it is. I hope it is.
All right,
if it
guys,
isn't, they're missing free real estate.
I'm just my OnlyFans.
Dang it. You did want to get a tattoo of just BDE on your arm.
Yeah, that'd be kind of funny.
I just actually have the word daddy tattooed right above my ass. It's it's there for myself, I stand there and I look in the mirror and I'm just like, yeah.
So
that's how...
I do have a question for you.
Go ahead.
So I met you through Pulsar.
That is accurate.
Is there a specific reason why you enjoyed Pulsar?
And then for me, Pulsar was like a way to completely socialize. I was so depressed when I was playing Pulsar. I was at a bad place in my relationship at the moment, and I was really, really not having a good time in life, and I had no one to talk to or anything. So I was looking through my games, and I installed some different online games that I had, and I was like, well, I had this one game that was called Citadel with Fire and Magic or something like that. And it was this magic-based kind of building game that was real janky. But I played that for a while, and a bunch of the people that a bunch of the people that I was talking to on there were just kind of douchebags, and all they cared about was the game. So I was trying to find a game that would give me something that let me talk to just people and work with people, So I was looking into a bunch of different games at the time. I was looking into Pulsar, I was looking into this game called Barotrauma, and a couple others. And I was like, well, I love Star Trek to death, and this is basically just a Star Trek simulator, so why not just play it? What I found was, though, that most of my time in that game was spent standing still on the ship just talking to people, which is basically what I appreciated about it and what I had fun doing. So
you were basically our learner's guide to Pulsar.
Yeah, I spent way too much. I played it really seriously when it first came out, back when it was in alpha and beta. But then once I revisited it out of depression, I was like, I don't really care. I had reached a point where I was like, is it just a video game? And it's I was the kind of person at first where I was like, oh, you're not doing that right, or you're not doing that right, or come on, man. And then I was when I revisited it, I was I'm kind of being a dick, and I should probably stop doing that. So I was just trying to just be friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just make friends. Just help people out, learn the game, make friends, and just kind of roll with it like that. And I never really took it seriously, which became a problem, honestly, after a while, because I started joining games with a lot of people that did take it seriously, and I was oh man, you're really bringing the whole energy down, dude. I joined games where captains were role playing as captains and stuff, and it's oh, that's just real uncomfortable for me. Which is why I took a break from it. Which is why I don't play it right now. because I was like, I'm real sick of joining games with people that are like, man, you gotta do all this right, and you gotta call me captain, and you've gotta be saying stuff like get on the battle stations and stuff like that. And it's just, oh my god, it's a video game, dude. Just like chill, just like take a breath.
It's funny because when you first met me and our other friend Josh and Noah, we were the father and sons.
Yeah, and I believed it too. I believed it. I didn't even question it when you told me that.
It was so funny.
You were like, yeah, I don't remember which of you was the father, but one of you was like, yeah, I'm his father. And I was just like, oh, that's cool. How long have you guys been playing games together? And then like immediately you both just died laughing. So it got kind of, that joke got cut short pretty quickly.
If that was me, we didn't expect you to take it seriously. So we have one of your friends in the chat.
I actually have two of my friends in the chat, and in fact, one of my friends in the chat is another guy that I actually believe I have played Pulsar with as well.
Oh.
Honey Badger. Yeah, he. I believe I played Pulsar with him.
Yes, that is Josh.
Mm-hmm.
He is our moderator.
I completely forgot that was his username.
So, Kyle, do you have any questions you want to ask him? If not, I can.
No, you can ask another. Oh.
So, I know that you have a love for music.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any, like, what got you into music to begin with?
Well, my dad was a recovered alcoholic, and my mother was a drug addict. That sounds really heavy, but I've got a point to all this. To kind of fight their addictions together, they started making music. And neither of them ever like released anything, but they started making music together. And when I was a child, we used to go on like road trips and stuff, and they would spend the whole time just playing like Pearl Jam and Nirvana and U2 and Coldplay and all the kind of stuff like that from the late 90s, early 2000s. And they would encourage me to like sing along to it, or my dad would like encourage me to play on his acoustic guitar while he's like in the background, like driving. You know, he encouraged me to sit in the back seat and play on his acoustic guitar. And after a while, I just kind of picked up the guitar, and what I found was that it's like, even if it isn't good, and even if it isn't like something you ever want to release, just the concept of writing music, playing music, and experiencing music really opens up a depth to yourself that you might not always know is there, and you might not always like feel. It kind of releases a feeling of like getting something out into the ether. And it's like, I think that's very important, to get something into the ether, because you know how they say it's like saying break a leg in a way. It's like when someone goes on to like perform a show or something, you know, you say break a leg, and it's like that's kind of like putting something out there with the knowledge that it'll never happen, you know, like, or you're hoping it doesn't happen. And it kind of applies the same way to writing music and releasing music, where it's like you're gonna feel so much better just writing the words, just even singing the words, even if you never record it, even if you listen to it. And I found that gave me such a huge release that I then started making electronic music that was more about like what I was feeling right then and there. It was like I started making songs, like I have a song called Falling Asleep to Thunderstorms, which is literally written exactly while I was trying to fall asleep to a thunderstorm, and I decided to get out of bed, and I came and recorded it. And it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, I think that too many people think of music as an art, as something that has to be perfect, something that has to be really, really good, but it really doesn't. And it's like everything from like, I mean, you look at like the demos of the early Sex Pistols. It's like no one on this planet is going to tell you that was good, but it's a really, really good expression of frustration and anger that they were feeling at the time. And it's like, I think that's what gets overlooked so much in music, is that it's such a release.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So you lead. You go.
So playing off of that, and I usually will do this for people who are more like lovers of music. So name just your top 3 favorite artist or band.
Right now I'm gonna say it's a pop punk group from Massachusetts called Driveways.
Okay.
Another very popular metalcore band called Dance Gavin Dance.
Yeah.
And a Finnish pop group called Retro Pop.
Okay.
I'm really into them right now. They make a lot of like kind of swing jazzy stuff.
Ah, that's good.
As Lowell and Chat is right, Hawthorne Heights is one of my favorite bands, but they're not one of my current vibes.
My cousin has a poster of Hawthorne Heights in her room. And she's like, "You would really enjoy this." And I'm like, "I'm just gonna ignore that."
It's all about what you vibe to. I will say, actually, right now, and I know how this sounds after what I just listed, but I'm really vibing with a trap rapper named Lil Skies. I'm really vibing with his stuff right now.
So, don't you run David and the Chobotnys?
David and the Duchovnys.
Duchovny, okay.
Yeah, because it's named after the actor. What?
X-Files, go ahead.
Yeah, David Duchovny from X-Files, yeah. That's my all-time favorite show. And so I originally created a band called Arcadia. And then I was like, that kind of makes me sound like a pretentious, like, acoustic person from Portland. So I was like, I want to like name it something a little funnier, something a little more like unique. So I decided to name it after my favorite actor, which is David Duchovny.
Do you prefer David Duchovny Californication or David Duchovny X-Files?
Probably Californication, honestly, because I think that's the most David Duchovny that David Duchovny is on screen. Because it's like, you look at his life and like his sex addiction and like all the crap that he's going through and stuff. And it's like, I think that Californication actually plays probably pretty well into David Duchovny's life when you actually break it down. I think that a lot of it does take actually from his real life, even if they don't acknowledge it or anything. So I would say I prefer that. That being said, I prefer the X-Files to Californication, but I think David Duchovny is better in Californication.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's really interesting that how some of like my favorite episodes of X-Files have him directing them.
Yeah, he did a lot of that. And in fact, I think that actually one of the biggest saving graces of X-Files is Walter Skinner. I think that character is probably one of the most underrated in a TV show in terms of his portrayal, his loyalty, what he shows, how he takes care of everybody. It's like, he's probably one of the best in one of those like, and I hesitate to call the X-Files this, but in a way it is a police procedural, right? And it's like, so I think that he's probably one of the best power characters, like characters of power, characters that are like in charge and stuff. He's one of the best in. That being said, I will say Manny Patinkin, I think is how you say his name. He played Gideon in the first 2 seasons of Criminal Minds, and he nails that role. That he's fantastic for that. That's one of the best lead roles that there are. It's just he comes off as so intelligent. So he comes off, even though I'm sure the actor doesn't, the character comes off as knowing just 120% of everything he's talking about, and it creates such a great leader, and it creates such a great lead character.
Okay.
Do you have a question?
Oh, shit.
All right. So, what is your favorite game of 2020?
I can honestly tell you, I have played 2 games that came out in 2020. Sorry, I had to pause for a second. My cat was clawing at my door. I played. In fact, I've played 1 game from 2020. I think. I've been playing a lot of games lately, but I've actually been really delving into some retro games. And in fact, I just bought and beat Ultima 7, which came out in like 94. And I really enjoyed that. You need a walkthrough, but I really enjoyed that. But I would say actually what I played this year that came out this year that I will recommend to anybody is Crusader Kings 3. Thoroughly enjoyed that game. That and Phasmophobia probably are the two that I've played the most from this year. I think that with Crusader Kings 3, it's like it took all of the elements of the previous iterations in the series and kind of built them up to be a thing where they were so accessible and they were so easy to follow and stuff compared to other entries in the series. And if you were a fan of the other entries in the series, you might take, not offense, but you might be taken aback by that. But it's like, I think that it made all of this grand strategy game like such a very streamlined and like simple thing compared. And it really stood out to me as like a game that I thoroughly enjoyed. And as someone who loves history, as someone who majored in history and all that stuff, it's like sorry, I had to burp, so I had to mute my microphone. But you really get into it. And it's like it follows so many historical characters and it follows so many historical bloodlines and lifelines and stuff. And it's like it tells so many storylines that are present in history. And it's like to be able to play a game where you're a leader in that game experiencing these things that are happening, it makes it so much more in depth and so cool to be able to like, you know, be a leader who has to defend from the Mongol invasion, or be a leader who has to be present when the split of France happens, you know, when it's West Francia and East Francia and stuff, and that kind of stuff. And it's like, if you're really interested in history like I am, it makes it really cool because it's like you can see these characters, you can see these people, and you can have a hand in it, which is unique in terms of those kind of games. Because games like the Total War series and stuff, it's like they don't really play off history, they play off like you being able to control history, whereas these play off you being able to experience history. You know what I mean?
I really enjoy games like that as well, because I really enjoy like European history opposed to like American history and such.
Oh yeah,
same for sure. I think most people feel that, because I think it's like American history, it to me is very interesting, but I think when you actually really break it down, there's not a lot of it. It's like in Europe and stuff, it's like you can go back to before Christ, you know, or like BC, you know, and you can be there, and it's like you can see what all of this life was like. You can look at the Roman Empire and how they affected modern day France and modern day England and all that kind of stuff. But it's like with America, it was disconnected from all that. So it's like you can go back into like the native culture, but as a country, you can't really go back into the culture of America, because it's like it only started back in like the 1700s. So it's like, you know, you can't really, or the 1600s, I guess technically, but it's like you can't really like, you can't look at it the same way that you can. You like if you look at the Ottoman Empire, you can break that down for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and it doesn't even exist anymore. Whereas if you look at America, it's like you've got like 300 years of history, and that's it. And it's like that sounds like a lot, but it really isn't in the grand scheme of it all, you know?
Yeah. It's funny. So I lived in England for about 3 years, and one of my things I love doing is going to like old cemeteries and just old churches. And going to the cemetery, I found a headstone, and this headstone was I think it was like 1688, and so it was like, this headstone is older than my city. You know, like that city did not exist. But when this person died, this city was not a thing. I'm like, that is an amazing and terrifying situation. I think it's awesome though.
Wow, it's like there's a where I live in the deep south, there's a place within a drive of me called Dauphin Island, and I'm cool with giving that out on stream. But it's called Dauphin Island, and it has a cemetery there. So the tombstones there date back to the Revolutionary War, literally. And it's insane, because it's like they're just knowing, just looking at it and being like, man, everyone who died in this cemetery could possibly didn't even see America be a country. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like to see that kind of history and to think about that, it's like these probably were just British dudes who just got shipped over here and died trying to fight for their right to live here. And that's just insane. That's just insane to me, because it's like those people have been dead for so long and they're still memorialized there, that it's like, I don't know, it's partially an incredible respect to the dead, and it's also partially just a concept of there's so much that goes into everything that we experience as Americans and everything that we experience as members of any country, where we actually sit down and we can see and I say this very loosely, but we can see the bodies of the people that fought before us, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just wild. That's just incredible, because it's like, who knows, you know? It's like some dude, there's where I live in the South, it's like there's Civil War, still Civil War, like cemeteries. And it's like, that's just wild, because that's just incredible. It is. It's like, you think about who knows what they even thought they were fighting for at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially when you come back to like the Civil War, like the Revolutionary War, everybody knew what they were fighting for, right? But for like the Civil War, it's like, you know, so many people died not even really knowing what they were fighting for. They just knew they wanted to support their state, you know, back when it was all kind of a country made up of states instead of like one country with a bunch of states in it. It was a bunch of states that made up a country. And it's like, so the states were so powerful and all these people felt a loyalty to the state. And it's like, they would fight to support that state. And then it became the Confederate States. And it's like, you see it where it's like, I don't support, obviously, the Confederacy, but it's like, you still respect the concept that like a bunch of guys died in their very early 20s, not really even knowing where they were fighting for, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just insane. The history is just insane to me.
Have you ever heard of a series called, I think, Letters from War or Letters Home?
I believe I have, but I don't believe I've ever read it myself.
So it's I think I'm trying to think of what it came on randomly, and I just like watched in just stunned silence. So they found letters from like the Revolutionary War, Civil War, and World War II. I think Vietnam is involved in there too, but it's just the letters they found that people wrote home from war, and just listening to what they talk about. And yes, sometimes the way that they speak change, but it's still like, man, this kid writing during the Revolutionary War or during the Civil War sounds a lot like this guy writing to his girlfriend in World War II. And it's just like the concepts of we humans kind of thing. It's really, really cool.
I'm sorry, what were you saying? I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh no, you're fine. It's like, I do believe it should be Revolutionary, Civil, and World War II, but I know at least one of those, like, there should at least be 3 different wars, but that's all.
I think that when you're talking about war, one of the most interesting pieces of literature that exists about it is All Quiet on the Western Front. And I have a friend in the chat right now. Now, she sent me a message on Discord saying that she was peacing out because she didn't want to listen to me anymore. But in case she's listening, I know she wants to read this novel, so it's a spoiler. But it is a spoiler to the novel. It's the thing about All Quiet on the Western Front is that it's a novel written from the perspective of a German soldier on the French front of World War I, but there is never any reference to the which side he's on.
Yeah.
And it's really just written to be a show of the concept that war is so hard and affects, especially back then, affects so many people that you don't really get it, you know. And it's like, it's easy to look at like for instance, this might come off a little dark, but it's like, for instance, some people could watch a video of a Nazi getting executed in the Soviet Union in 43, right? Mm-hmm. And be like, okay, good, fuck him, that's a Nazi. But it's like, you don't know that was not just some random German dude who happened to get conscripted and got killed, you know? And it really shows that it's like war is hell. And it's like war is hell to everybody. Yeah. And I think that All Quiet on the Western Front is one of the most powerful novels in terms of showing off exactly what you're going to experience, exactly what war is like, because it doesn't matter what side you're on. It doesn't really even matter what you believe. It's like, yeah, you can be evil or you could be good, but it's like all the same. It's like at the end of the day, everybody is fighting to end the war. Everybody is fighting to get back home and be done with it. You know what I mean?
Do you have a question, Jacob?
No.
Okay.
I was gonna say though, Zach, when you speak, can you speak a little bit softer so that it doesn't echo?
I'm so sorry. Yes,
no,
I can.
it's fine. That was just my observation.
Grabs megaphone.
Yeah, actually, everything I'm saying is I'm actually in a blimp and I'm just broadcasting this over a microphone.
Amazing. Why airships? Yay or nay? They should exist now more often. I think. I don't know.
I think they should. I think honestly, Zeppelins, especially like what was the one that was a giant disaster? The Hindenburg. Yeah.
Oh, Hindenburg. That will not be the selling point. Like I.
Okay. Well, look. Here's the thing. The Hindenburg was a disaster, but what I'm saying is, I think that the Hindenburg as a concept is incredibly luxurious, incredibly beautiful, incredibly fun.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that it's one of those things where, thank you, Honey Badger. I know I'm adorable, but I think that it's one of those things where it's almost like the Titanic in the air. Yes. That is what they wanted it to be. And it's like, that's insanely cool. I think that should exist. I think modern technology can make it exist without it exploding, you know, and a British dude going, oh, the humanity. But I think that just in and of itself is an incredible creation, is an incredible concept. And the thing that I will actually question about the Hindenburg, it's like, I'm shocked they never tried again, because there's like so long throughout World War I and World War II, the Germans used so many Zeppelins as like recon planes and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, it's weird to me that they never tried again. They never were like, oh, well, the Hindenburg freaking sucked, but you know, round 2, let's go.
Yeah. Now, yay or nay? So say that someone comes out and they have like this Jules Vernean steampunk style like experience that is also an airship. This is for both of you. Would you take that trip?
Yes. Oh, immediately, yes.
Oh no, I would most definitely. I would do myself.
Where is it going?
Probably like
straight to hell.
Probably it'll probably do like 3 states possibly, kind of thing. Just the concept of just going from one place to another, like it's like a cruise.
Go across the ocean.
No, I don't know about that.
I don't think that's because here's the thing: at some point you're going to need to refuel. At some point you're going to need some stuff. So with modern technology, though, actually, I think that you could create like a landing pad in the water for it to come down to.
It should be run on clouds, my dude. If it's going to be soaring with the clouds, it should eat the clouds.
I don't think a Zeppelin actually gets higher than the clouds. I don't think it gets the size of plane.
Because look at the Goodyear blimp. It gets up there, but it's not like, you know.
Yeah, it's like it's right below like the lowest level of cloud.
Yeah.
It's like right there. And I think that'd be really cool. It'd be kind of like a hot air balloon ride that took you a real long time.
Exactly. It just like Jules Vernean themed steampunk.
About like aircrafts in general. How much do you two know about paramotoring?
I know nothing about it because I've never heard about it.
Is it dealing with the parachute itself or dealing with wind?
Both. So you know the okay. Paragliding. You know what paragliding is?
Yes.
Like that special parachute. What a paramotor is, yes, you put a fan on your back and you have that parachute, and you basically the fan also has a chair on it, and you sit in the chair while you're in the air and you're flying, just you in a chair and a giant fan on your back.
I have seen that before, and no, I personally would never do that.
Okay, hear me out. It's dangerous, but I think I would do it.
I mean, hell, I'm all for you doing it. Just vlog it. Send us some info about it.
Well, I actually got
your life in danger.
I got the new GoPro, so that could actually happen.
Did you get that for all your sick BMX tricks?
Yeah, dude, I'll be right. I don't know how to ride a bike, so maybe.
What about parkour?
I do watch a lot of parkour videos, but as you know, I'm fat. So
do that. Do like you wear GoPro while you watch other people parkour.
Hey, are you a parkour? Nah, bro, I'm fat. I'm here to watch.
Just do it. Yeah, just you parkouring. You need to set up a thing where it's like a bunch of people parkouring off rooftops, but you're on a much higher rooftop, like looking at them, but they all look like ants. So all you see is just tiny, like little people just jumping around.
I just look down there. I'm like, yeah, you get it. But no, another video idea would be cool, is to actually do it, but only make videos of like funny failures. So it's the fact that I am overweight in doing it that would make it funny.
That's fair.
But I would probably, that's another thing I would do when I do lose the weight. So, because that is my current endeavor.
You mentioning parkour, it makes me want to ask a question that I did just recently talk to some friends about, and I'm curious to both of you. Do y'all look down when you walk, or do you just look forward and hope you don't hit anything? Because I stare at the ground the whole time I walk, but not out of like nervousness, just because I think I'm gonna trip over something.
So I used to do it a lot. Like I think I stopped doing it like probably somewhere in the early 2000s, because I can remember it because I used to do a lot because I would be afraid to like crush ants and other bugs. And then I did it a lot when I was in England because I would kill snails. Like I was a snail serial killer, accidentally just crushing these beautiful little guys. So I don't think it was
accidental. I think you're just a monster.
But I just want it to get stopped.
You were like, it's free caviar.
To escargot, yes.
I'm freaking stupid. My bad.
You can't eat snail eggs as well, and I don't know what they call snail eggs, but I don't know. But so I think if I'm walking in the wilderness, I do tend to look down. But if I'm just like walking from just going on like a little like ramble, then no, just going to and from, I don't look down.
Depends on what I'm doing.
Oh, they are called caviar, actually. Snail eggs.
Yeah. Get out of here.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Nah, you're fired.
But it just makes me, and then makes me just more a monster. Now I'm just like, I only eat the ones that had the babies.
Like if I'm in deep thought, which most of the time I am for no good reason, just like, what am I gonna eat tonight, or what game do I want to play? That was a funny moment in Tarkov. Let me relive that in my mind. So if I'm thinking, then I tend to just sort of like either deadpan stare at something or just slowly go to the ground. But otherwise, I don't think I do that.
Yeah, I have just this problem where I just stare at the ground the whole time, and it's funny too because
beta.
Oh yeah, you know it. But it's like when I was a kid, I used to like never look down, and I used to like have a really good uncanny ability to just kind of avoid obstacles. But then as I got older, I just started tripping over everything within reach. And so I started just staring at the ground the whole time I was walking.
You were like a clumsy savant in like a weird way.
Yeah.
So like as a kid, you would trip over nothing, but you would dodge the actual like harm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Walks over all the rakes on the ground.
It dodges all of them. Just
That's great.
So, forgive me if I'm wrong, but didn't you say you translated manga at one point?
I did. I worked as a translator for manga for a while. I was a proofreader though. I didn't do the direct translations. Basically, they translated it. They sent it to me. They translated it from Japanese into English, and then they sent it to me, and then I proofread it and I let them release it. It was a Russian company, and they were really cool. They were really nice to work for. They were very, very good guys. I made a couple of very, very close modern friends like that I'm still in contact with out of it and stuff, and that was really fun. It was part of, I got into it based kind of off just I had started a YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel, I played this game called Everlasting Summer, which was a free-to-play, still available on Steam, and I actually do recommend anybody who can tolerate visual novels to go and check it out. They were making, they were subscribing to me, the Russians. So I don't know why I don't know why I said it like that, but they were subscribing to me. And I was getting just all these Russian subscribers, and I was like, what's going on? And then I realized that the game was from Russia, and actually when I played it, it had just, like, as in a couple of days before I played it on my YouTube, gotten a better English translation patch. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's awesome. Like, and I gave it a try, and it's just this free to play game. You play this guy named Simeon, who goes to a USSR based, he actually travels back in time to go to a USSR based like summer camp for kids, and wait,
pause real quick. Is it the same Simeon from Grand Theft Auto 5?
I don't think so. Okay. I certainly hope not.
Okay.
But anyway, it's just a visual novel / like kind of a dating sim in a way, and it's a really good game. I highly recommend it. But I that was one of the first games I ever played on my YouTube channel, and it got really popular. A bunch of people subscribed from Russia from it, and I was like, that's really cool. Two of the friends that I made from there, named Alexander and Dimitri, I started talking to them as after they had subscribed to me, and we started playing games together. And in fact, I actually brought them on for several YouTube videos with them. And Alexander introduced me to a guy named Yuri, who goes by Shinoda, and he is a Russian who speaks fluent Japanese, and his real job is to translate manga from Japanese into Russian. But the thing was, his company that he was kind of running started to expand, and they started to want to do like English stuff. So when they would do English releases, he would always come to me and ask me to proofread it and like kind of type it out and like redo it because their English just wasn't very good. And yeah, and that's kind of how I got into that. And then I kind of tried to break out on my own, but that just kind of failed. It just didn't work out very well. I just couldn't get much traction.
Like, do they still make stuff?
They do. They actually have a whole Discord thing, but they did get rid of they mostly got rid of the English portion. They now mainly do Japanese into Russian.
That's like sad, my dude. If you don't mind me asking, so you got paid for doing that?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
How much did you get paid for just like proofreading?
I would say I actually did not get paid from Shinoda, but I translated for well, not translated. I turned that into kind of a proofreading career for a little bit. And I was making about $900 a month off it. It was pretty good.
That's pretty good.
It was pretty good, yeah, for a while. And then the company that I was working for actually got I got furloughed from in 2018 because they decided to shut down my department. So, which was a different company, the previous company, but they decided to cut down my department. So I got furloughed.
That's surprising with how much money like that is, because I know like Crunchyroll was having like a big thing, which Crunchyroll is like the anime.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And I think they had like a big thing where they weren't getting paid enough, or like the way they were getting paid was really bad.
That definitely could be true. I definitely would believe that. Because it's like, for instance, it's like a lot of times with translating, you get paid by the word.
Yeah.
And that can kind of be BS. Really, when you break it down, because it's like you could make like 30 cents per word, and then you translate 1,000 words, and that's like, $30.
So,
That's like nothing.
Yeah.
with like a quick Google search, so take it with like a grain of salt. The often used one is Crunchyroll pays its translators like $80 an episode.
Yeah.
And so I guess some episodes could be easy, but some could be like harder depending on what anime it is.
Well, I'll say this. My job as a proofreader, I really didn't ever work by the hour, by the episode. I worked, like in manga, I worked by the volume, not by the chapter. So it was like, I would be translating probably like 10 to 15 chapters at once that were, or not translating, but proofreading and like rewriting 10 to 15 chapters at once. So that's like, that's like a whole ass volume of manga that you would buy at like Barnes and Nobles or something,
Yeah.
So it's a lot more than just like an episode of anime or like a single chapter of a manga.
This is true. I was just like, well, there was like a big thing where like I think the Crunchyroll translators, they didn't like it. I would not like that either. I can say that is a significantly low amount of money to be being paid for what that entails, for sure. Alrighty. Is there any other? Do you have a question, Kyler?
Oh no, I was just chuckling though because I was finding it funny that we were saying your Russian friends. I was like, well, one has to be named Dmitry, and then you said, like, what the heck? I was like, so not Ivan or Boris or Yuri. And you're like, Yuri. Like, okay, good. Gotta hit those notes.
Which is hilarious too, because that guy Dmitry, he actually ended up going to work at a summer camp that was identical to the summer camp featured in the video game Everlasting Summer.
That's fun.
So he ended up going and working at summer camp, and actually there they had a old Vietnam War era helicopter that was painted pink as a joke at their summer camp.
That's great.
And it was still outfitted with guns and everything too. It was hilarious.
We want children to have fun, but we want them to be afraid.
Yeah, but just be real careful. If you do bad in your summer camp activities, then you get sent off into the woods and hunted down with the pink helicopter. do your best, kids. Have fun.
Freaking hind bee flying around.
Going back to like games, do you have a favorite like tabletop game?
I'd say my favorite tabletop game is not actively a tabletop game, but it is the Vampire series, or World of Shadows is actually I think what it's called. It's the tabletop game that Vampire the Masquerade is based off of. Have you ever heard of that video game?
Yes.
And it's
They brought it back. They've updated the Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah, I know they're about to release a sequel to Vampire the Masquerade.
Or like,
tabletop. The tabletop, you mean? Oh, okay.
But
I have not played the tabletop in years, but that is definitely, to me, one of the best tabletops because it creates such a fantastic, like, congealed world where you really do feel like you're like part of a clan of vampires. You feel like you're part of like this like family in a sense, and it's like even NPCs, right, as you're playing, it's like it just feels so natural. It flows so well, whereas something like Warhammer or something, it's like I have such a hard time making a disconnect from reality to like connect with that kind of stuff, where I don't feel that with Vampire the Masquerade because the whole point is that it's supposed to be like or World of Shadows, but it's like you don't feel that because it's like it takes place in like a modern world, and it takes place in a modern world where they're literally everything in the game is playing off modern day like politics, modern day media, modern day problems and stuff, and it's like it creates a very, very, very good just settlement of just a modern world. And I know I just repeated that a bunch, but that's the best way I can describe it. Is it's like you feel like you're there, you feel like everything that is happening directly to you, because you can have it happen, and then you can look and be like, oh well, this looks exactly like, you know, what just happened to me in real life, or what is happening in my country, or what is happening on the news and stuff. And it's like it does create such a great world just all around. And I think that's very powerful. I think that's very important too. I think that the days of D&D are not dead, but I think that the days of everything being fantasy, everything being magic and monsters and stuff, it's like I think that we're kind of moving now, especially in tabletop games, but also in video games in general, towards just an acceptance of, well, modern day is pretty effed just in general, so let's just build off that, you know. And I think you can see that in games Auto 4 and 5. You can see that in games like Watch Dogs 2. You can see that in games just everywhere. You can see that in games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You know, you can see like obviously that game takes place in the past, but you can see like the way that they are introducing all these like modern day problems and stuff. And it's like, it isn't always historically accurate, of course, and it isn't always, frankly, the best done. It's not always fantastic, but it's like you can see how video games in general and tabletop games also are starting to kind of move towards this world of incorporating all the modern day problems. And I think that makes it so much easier to digest, so much easier to invest in, because you connect with that and you see that. And it's like, I can look out my window and see the news because I don't own a TV, obviously, so I have to watch my neighbor's TV. I don't know why I said it like that. I don't know why I said look out the window and see the news. That was
me.
But
you look out the window.
You can look out the window and you can see the world, is what I meant to say. And it's like that you can look at that and just be like, oh man, that's just real rough. And then you can turn around and come into a video game and see it just portrayed, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas in earlier years, for tabletop games especially, but also for video games just in general, there was never really an attempt to make the world around you real. And I think one of the best examples of that is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. It's like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas tried to tell a quote-unquote real story with these like hardcore gangbangers that are just, you know, everything's gritty, everything's rough, but it did it in such a comedic way that no one really felt, you know, oh man, this is hard-hitting, heavy stuff about what it's like to live in the ghetto of America and stuff, you know, even though that is actually what it is portraying, but it did it in such a comedic way and stuff. But now it's like we're seeing games like Deus Ex Mankind Divided and Deus Ex Human Revolution, where we're seeing like a game creating the idea of man versus machine, and we're seeing that in Horizon New Dawn and stuff. And I don't actually personally like that game, but it's like we're seeing it in that, and I think that is powerful. I think that plays very, very heavily into what we are experiencing as people, because if you just keep making video games that are fantasy, or if you just keep making video games that are hit or miss, or like in terms of their reality and stuff, it's like I think that we as a world kind of want reality now. We want to, and I think honestly, in my personal opinion, it comes from the concept that we can't fix the world. I think that it comes from the concept that we can't really, everything is so messed up right now. It's like just that we can't do better individually. So we look at these things such as playing a game like Horizon Zero Dawn, or playing a game like Deus Ex Human Revolution, or playing a game like Grand Theft Auto 5, where it's like it's showing us the grittiness and the darkness of the world, but it's also doing a thing where we as people can't do better in the world by ourselves. So we get a release by being able to play a game that allows us to do better in the world when we are acknowledging the problems that the games are presenting.
But what if I just want to play Grand Theft Auto 5 and run over people?
That's perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I encourage that. I'm just saying that it's like, I think the story and stuff is intended to make you kind of look at the world and kind of experience something outside of just running people over. But I don't think that it's necessarily like a hard-hitting emotional moment. I just think it's a thing where games are getting so gritty and they're getting so realistic and they're getting so, so emotionally connected to what we as human beings are experiencing nowadays. I think Cyberpunk's going to do that. I think that Cyberpunk's going to be a game that really, really hits hard politically, really, really hits hard with Keanu Reeves because he's beautiful, really, really hits hard with really, really hits hard with just the concepts of just everything that is going on in the world. I think that kind of stuff is going to come over really, really hard in that game. I don't know. I've never seen anything about it, but I just feel, you know what I mean? Like that is going to be the case with Cyberpunk 2027 or 2077. It's like, I think that it's going to be kind of like Grand Theft Auto 5, except exactly on the nose of the problems of the world right now. And I think that we did not have that even just a few years ago. And you can look at literal games, like I said, you can look at Watch Dogs 2, you can look at Grand Theft Auto 4, you can look at Grand Theft Auto 5 a little bit, but I do think that it more than anything else, it's just games in the past were more for fun. And now we're transitioning to a state of games not being politically motivated, but showing flaws in the world as a kind of like when you watch a movie. When you watch a movie like Get Out, right? The whole concept of the movie of Get Out is kind of playing off the oppression of African Americans, and it's playing off like the power of white Americans comparatively. And I think that we're coming to a point where the video game media is reaching that exact same crescendo of being all about political topics, kind of being all about the world, being all about what's going on.
I can see that. I also think like there's been so many like fantasy games in general that it's oversaturated, like the genre. So now people will want more games that are based like Watch Dogs and stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of them.
I think that that's accurate, yes.
Because it's like, I could go and play like Fable, or I could go play Skyrim. Stuff like that. Or if I wanted it to be hard, but sort of still the same, Dark Souls. You don't really have many options for like current day other than Watch Dogs or Grand Theft Auto and other things like that.
No, you don't have a lot of options for current day in terms of the setting, but I do think that a lot of our video games that we are playing right now, or are being released right now, do play off of problems in modern day. Like they play, like even if they're set in a different time period, they play off problems in modern day.
And and I'll put into that one like so taking like both your tabletops, because Dungeons and Dragons is my love, but I love like because Cyberpunk, Starfinder, which is like a Pathfinder in the future, so it's more like Destiny kind of thing. So like I would say with it that like so like World of Darkness, also one that I start writing for. If it so like just like all video games in themselves and all like especially like your AAA and then all your like your fantasy based games, it's like how can I escape? So or how can I connect? So when you have like Dungeons and Dragons, some people want to go, I just want to be in a fantasy world and it's magic and might and swords, but other people go, well, I want it to be grounded. Like look at the popularity of Game of Thrones. while it's a fantasy thing, it felt more like a gritty medieval world. Like it was cruel and it was violent. Same with like The Witcher. But yet they were still more than just me lord and me lady and then hocus pocus. There was, there's stories and people, human stories. And I think a lot of video games are doing that. They're adding the modern mentality to a game where it's not just you shoot, but it's just like, what is this person doing? And so some relate to them and then others escape with them, kind of thing. And I think I like the fact there's more spectrums of it, but I was like, I think with fantasy games, like they have a niche just as all the other ones, because again, not everyone wants to play the modern game where you talk to someone on your cell phone, or even the futuristic where you can teleport. Some people want the dragons, and I think it's the escapism, because I think Rockstar said that they weren't going to make any like modern Grand Theft Autos for a while, just because like these years have been a little too satirical, and that's so like Grand Theft Auto is a satire, and then Saints Row is a satire of a satire. And so that concept, they're like, well, we're going to step away from that because it's gotten too comical to be realistic. But I like the idea of just more. I'm glad that fantasy is still a mainstay, but I am also like, I like the fact that there's a lot more options, more flavors. Because I mean, you have some guys who will play Modern Warfare and they'll never play the campaign, even though some of those campaigns have like tear-jerking moments now.
That's me. I fall in that category.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll play the campaign. I'll play all of them, just in that concept. But I think like a lot of people are now going, is not just like Doom guy or guy from Castle Wolfenstein, where you just like stone job Samson going in and shooting these faceless mugs. Yeah. They're becoming stories where they're just like, because it was like the giraffe scene from The Last of Us, have people like weeping. It's just like these concepts where it's like, yeah, we can make characters and yet we can take these old mentalities that we have and then put them, or these old mentalities they have, and put them into whatever, and we're finding out that it's still a human story. And I think that's what I love about different games. I mean, because like even playing like D&D, there's been times where I've had one of the guys who plays with us, Noah, I've had him teary-eyed by something, or someone just screaming out expletives because of a moment that happened with like so yeah, some people
telling a mayor he's worthless.
He's worthless, yes, an older mayor, he's worthless. But yeah, well, it's like I don't want fantasy to just populate the main stage. I think it is important for that variety of flavors, kind of thing. And I'm on board. I really hope 2077 does a lot, because Human Revolution, I think it spoke really, because I'm a big fan of like prosthetics and regenerative medicine. So that spoke on the thing of like humans' transcendence when it comes to like electronics and our relationship with it. So I don't know.
I completely agree, and I think that you're completely right too on the topic of Human Revolution and Mankind Divided. Deus Ex is my second favorite video game series of all time, behind Dragon Age, and I think that it really does, at least in the newer ones. Now, some people might get on to me for this, but I frankly don't think the first Deus Ex is that great. A lot of people are gonna hate on that, but the first Deus Ex is not very good. Invisible War, I fucking loved. Sorry, I know I'm not supposed to curse on this. My bad. But I loved Invisible War, and it really got me into the Deus Ex series. And so when Human Revolution, also I know when I say Deus Ex, it sounds like I'm saying Day of Sex, but I just have that southern draw, so this is how it comes out.
Like Day of Sex? Oh my god!
I'm all on board for the Day of Sex, but Deus Ex Human Revolution and Deus Ex Mankind Divided, to me, they're both just fantastic shows of the evilness that hides behind bringing technology into our day-to-day life, like into our everyday life. Like, not like bringing technology in as in like a cell phone or a computer or something. It's like when you're actually like, I'm installing this, you know, because even Bill Gates right now is talking about, and so is Elon Musk, they're talking about putting microchips in people. And it's like, when you look at that and you look at those kind of games, it's like there is a line that has to be drawn, and no one on the planet really knows where that line is.
Yeah.
It's like no one right now knows where that line is. It could be when we are all cybernetically visual, or it could be like, you know, where like your cell phones in your eyeballs and crap like that, or it could be a thing where it's like we're all just robots, you know. And it's like, who knows? And one thing about those games that is powerful is that it's like, you look at Hugh Darrow. I don't know if you remember that character game, but he's the guy that created cybernetics at the beginning. And you watch him at this is a spoiler for anybody who hasn't played the game. At the end of Human Revolution, you watch him get mauled to death, potentially by crazed cybernetic people once he releases that virus. Oh, okay. Oh, he's back. Okay, but you watch him get mauled to death. Okay,
are you really back? Sometimes
it just does weird things.
Yeah, sometimes it shows he's back and he's not. All right, continue.
Okay. What I was saying is, at the end of Deus Ex Human Revolution, you see Hugh Darrow basically get killed by crazed cybernetics after he releases that virus. And the concept that someone could create these things, because everybody in the game does say Hugh Darrow was the founder of cybernetics, basically, or augmentations, I guess is what I should say, because that's what they call them in the game. But you look at that and it's like, that's a very powerful moment where this dude literally is like, I created this like 30 years ago. I have hated my life ever since, and I'm going to let it destroy me because I am so just sad about how it all played out. And I think that is such a powerful moment in a video game at the end of Human Revolution, that it's like, when you really reach it, it's like, you know, in that scene where you find him and you talk to him, it's like he literally does just say that, like, I want to die. I want my creation to kill me. And it's like, that's such a powerful moment to look back on. And you look at things like in Deus Ex Human Revolution and in Mankind Divided, you look at Eliza Cassan, and if anybody's ever played it, you know that that's the newscaster. And and this is another spoiler for anybody who's watching who doesn't want to hear spoilers. You learn that she's a robot. She's an AI created to literally fuel the media core. And it's like, core as in CORP. And it's like, she is such a fantastic representative in a media of somebody who is controlling everything. And she doesn't even realize it because she's an AI, and she doesn't even realize it until later in the game. And it's like, she learns it and she wants to help Adam Jensen make it right, but she doesn't even know because she's an AI. But she is the face of media in that world. She is the one that is there who is trying to tell everybody what's going on, tell everybody the problems, tell everybody that kind of stuff. And it's just, she's just a program. And it's like, I think that we as a society are legitimately moving towards that. I don't think we're moving towards cybernetic newscasters, but I think we're moving towards this one centralized, controlled media. And I think that is definitely bad. And I think that when you look at games like that, I'm sorry, give me 1 second, Oni, just to finish the thought. But I think that when you look at that and you look at a game like that, it's like, I think you have to have respect out of what they created, what they wanted to show, you know, what they wanted it to be, because it's so powerful and it's so realistic in the way humanity is currently evolving. But anyway, I'm sorry, Oni, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, like, on the cybernetic thing, so some people, like, this is like on the bioenhancements. Some people were like, the RFID chips. Do you know what those are?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
You should explain them though, because somebody watching might not know.
So an RFID chip is a little chip that holds like a minuscule amount of data, like just basically only text. And it's in your credit card. Like if you have the microchip in your credit card, it's in that. Now these chips aren't powered like by themselves. They have to be powered by a machine. So when you put your credit card in the machine to use the chip, the machine puts out like a signal, like just a small signal, and it powers it. And it basically turns it on for like a few seconds to get the code. People have been putting those in their hands, and I'm like, I would do this. Because some of the things you can do with that is you can put like say you have like a ID card, an ID badge that doesn't have like a QR code on it, it has the chip in it. You can, like for your work, you can put that in your hand. You can just take the code right off of it and put it on your hand. You can do the same thing with your credit card. You can put your email on it. You can even put your contact information, like your phone number and your email. So if people can read RFID signals for like with their phone, instead of pulling out your phone or anything, you just put your hand to the back of their phone and it gives them your contact if you want to. And it's not like these things can, like, they're not on all the time. And it's funny to see some people be like, it's gonna hack your brain or it's gonna steal your information. It's like, for someone to steal your information with it, they have to physically basically touch your hand to like even put a machine near it to power it. That's my explanation. But I would get one of those just because I see the usefulness in it.
I would get one of those if I didn't have to get it in my hand, because in the concept, yeah, I'd get it like in the back of my neck, and then I just have to do like the splits every time I want to like pay for something.
You go to lean up to like the cash register, like the little pad that you put your card in, you just like, bonk your head on it, and she's just like, what is that gonna, oh my god, he actually paid.
Yeah, it turns out this psycho had money in his bank account.
just go like corona precautions, just put it in your tongue, just lick everything. God.
Man, that actually sounds like a beautiful idea.
Just be at the restaurant. I'm paying. Oops, sir, please stop. You want a tip? No tip. Just please.
The thing is like these RFID chips they're really not expensive at all. I think you can get a pack of like 3 different ones, like unique ones for whatever you want. There's just 3 different ones, and it comes with like a syringe, and you can get it for like $160, $200. And all you need, like, if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, which you can, all you need to do is take it to someone who knows how to pierce.
Yeah,
like,
so basically Cody.
Yeah, so basically our friend Cody.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got a bell-end piercing. I can just use that, right?
Yeah.
What? I don't think that's how that works.
I'm kidding. By the way, for anyone watching, I don't have that piercing.
It's canon.
But what I actually will say that builds off that, Oni, is you kind of get a thing, like for instance, and I know how this is gonna come off really strange, but I do not like places like Chili's and stuff that have started okay, well, let me build on this before you start laughing. I do not like how they have started using the automated checkouts, where it's like you don't give your card to a waitress and you don't do it. You just swipe it there on like this weird little screen. It's like, personally, I'm not into that. It's like, I don't feel like they're stealing my info or anything like that, but it's like, I don't know. It's like, there's something that feels very I guess rewarding is the right word, but it's really not. But it's like I feel like I don't know. I like,
you know that your transaction's complete kind of thing.
yeah. It's like I like putting the card in the little black holder thing, and then the waitress comes and gets it, and then she takes it back and she brings it back to me, and I sign it. I like that. I don't like having like this automated thing that's trying to sell me games and shit. Sorry, right in front of me. That's just like
cursing too.
This
Zach Zero.
I have to. We've been on for an hour and 10 minutes, and that's my second curse. So that's incredible.
There was more. There was more. I'm just not counting this.
Oh well, that's your bad. That's your bad, not my bad. So I'm just saying. But it's like, I think that it's like I don't like that. I like having a connection with the people that are serving me at restaurants, honestly, because I know they're human. And I'm sorry.
It almost sounded like you were about to just say I like feet. I don't know why.
I mean, look, when I'm at Chili's, I just really want my waitress to just come up and put her bare feet on my ribs and just rub the sauce around a little bit with them. It just adds so much flavor, so much just context to the deliciousness. No, I'm kidding. But if you work at Chili's and you find me, put your feet in my ribs. But if you do, you can. Just don't tell me you did it. I don't care if you don't tell me. But yeah, it's like I don't know. I like having a waiter or a waitress that comes to my table, takes my check. I can look them in the eye, and because here's the thing, that like interaction to me makes me feel more connected to them, and then that makes me give them a bigger tip, right? And it's like that makes me want to take care of them. You know, it makes me want to help them out. And I feel like, oh, I want to, this person's been here refilling my drink for the last 2 hours. They've been bringing me all my food. They've been doing all this. And so then for all of that to end with me punching in all my information onto a screen, but that just doesn't have the same kind of reward to it. It's like, I want this person to know they're appreciated. I want this person, because I've worked as a waiter and it sucks. It's awful. And it's like, I want this person to know that they're appreciated. I want them to know that everything they've been bringing me has been good. Everything they've been doing has been good. And so it's like, when you get to that kind of automation level, I'm just not a fan of it. Because I think it undervalues the humans that are the ones doing all of the work. Because the automation isn't that little screen isn't bringing my food out. That little screen isn't taking my order. They're not making my custom order, which every time I go to Chili's, I always change the sides because their sides suck. Shout out Chili's, your sides suck. But it's like, I just feel like it just kind of undermines the human element. And that person is there trying to earn a living. And especially if they're a server, they're making like $3-4 an hour. And it's like they're vastly underpaid. And it's like, I think to add an automation into that is just slowly building towards the concept of a full automation. And I think full automation is bad. I think full automation is bad. I think we don't appreciate the people that put in all the work. It's like, and you can see it from everything from Jean-Pierre. For those who don't know, Jean-Pierre is Gordon Ramsay's personal maitre d'. He's the head of house for Gordon Ramsay restaurant. It's like, you can look up compilations of him being punched, him being pushed, him being abused. And it's like, that's just, when you are considering all these people and all these things that they have to put up with, it's like, my feeling is, if you want the automation as a company, then the people working as waiters and waitresses need to be paid well above minimum wage. Honestly. Because it's like, if you're going to tell me that you're going to personally automate your whole restaurant and you're just going to have waiters and waitresses that take orders, then that's fine. But those waiters and waitresses should be paid at least $10 an hour for the crap they have to put up with. And it's like, it just creates such an unfair dynamic. It's such an unfair economical dynamic, and that's a whole nother topic I could delve into. But it's like it creates this thing where these people are working their butts off, and they are always putting it in. They're always putting in the time. They're always putting in the effort. And even if they do bad, they're still putting in the effort, you know? And it's like they are going to come home to a paycheck that is a fraction of what they should be paid. And it's like when you automate that crap, here's the thing. I think the best way I can sum it up, and I'll end it with this. If you are looking someone in the eye when you hand back the check that you just signed a tip onto, or maybe you tipped in cash, either way, when you're handing them that back, are you going to feel guilty? But you're not going to feel guilty regardless of how much you tipped them if it's automated on a screen, because you can pretend they're not real people almost. You can literally, for instance, if anybody's ever been to a restaurant that makes you pay at the counter and then they flip the screen around to you and it has the thing that says leave any tip you want, almost everybody hits no tip, because in your eyes, you're paying at the counter. It doesn't matter. You don't need to tip, but you do, honestly. And having spoken from experience of working at a place like that, you do. And it's like, it creates such an incredible, strange dynamic compared to what it used to be. And when you hand your check back to a waiter or waitress and they take that check, you in the back of your head are thinking, oh, I really hope that like my tip was enough. I hope I did good. I hope with that. But when you're just automated, when it's all just up to you and they don't really have any kind of interaction there, you're far more likely to be like, oh, well, this is a 2% tip. It'll be good. Or no tip, you know? And it's just like, I think that is a genuine thing that people feel. I think that people genuinely look at that and they're like, oh, well, I need to leave my tip on the little automated screen. So they leave like a $3 tip on what should have been like a $7 tip. You know what I mean?
Oh.
I think that people make a disconnect because you're not having to look the person in the eye and hand them back their tip and actually answer to yourself about what you're tipping them. Because we as people especially don't like to tip. No one likes to tip. And I just think that we need to take care of those people. And a lot of this comes from having worked extensively in this field and been tipped $2 on a $500 order. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like that kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't think mandatory tips should ever be a thing. Like, I don't think that you should just get a tip for yourself just because of the price of the order. But I think that people don't feel guilty giving bad tips or giving no tips when it's automated, compared to feeling guilty about not giving a tip or giving no tip, or giving a small tip, I mean, when it's face to face. And I think that people feel that guilt when it's face to face. People feel bad. They say, oh, well, what is the correct tip? How much should I give? But when it's automated, they don't feel that.
When I tip, I tend to just leave it on the table. Because if you tip like through the electronics, it gets taxed anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I never carry cash, so
yeah. So it's very funny because so I will. What depends on where I'll eat, but like a few of the restaurants I eat, they'll have it where like it's that they'll flip the tablet around and you sign it, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not for me that way, because I will tip a person. So I base it off of the merit of the wait staff, as it should be. And most people who've ever seen me like in public or like we hang out with tipping, I tip a generous tip. Like I went to Applebee's tonight, so before this, and tip 30%. Like it's
That's a damn good tip.
yeah, like I mean, I've done that before. Like I've actually done more before. Like the guy was ridiculous. Like just what he just got my food, made sure I was all right, didn't like hover, just really super cool guy on top of all that. And then I was just like, here's a $20 bill for, and my meal itself was like $23. So you know what I mean? Like, so, but even with like there's a restaurant that's like a burger joint, but it's like sit down, it's a bunch of authors and the names of the burgers, and even the bartender, if I'm just sitting at the bar just writing or drawing, and I'll leave a tip there, and it's that they'll just give you the tablet, and it's up to your devices of what you're going to sign. And I mean if she was awesome as well, then why not? So I can see, I do agree with the automation, especially like saying like in like industry, cars and so forth. But I think with and I don't really like the little tablets left on Chili's, because again, this thing has been like spamming you with like add-on just weird games. So it's kind of like, I don't trust you, little machine. But if someone like brings me like the iPads or tablets to just sign, then I feel like there's still that connection with the person enough to, you know what I mean?
Oh no, I agree with that entirely. I do. I agree with that entirely. I do think that the connection is still there, even if it is just the flipping around the iPad screen and asking you to sign it. I do think that exists. I'm talking specifically about the Chili's like tablets.
Yeah, and I mean
where it's at the table and you don't have to even look the person in the eye like when you're signing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, with that one, again, it might be the same thing where it's just like, hey, people will steal this thing, but I won't because I'm not a dirtbag. So, I mean, like, so even with those, when the waitress like, oh, you use that, and just walks away, it was still like, well, I'm gonna leave a tip for her. Yeah. And that, like, even though, like, I'm huddled in the corner, I could just put nothing, but yeah, so, I mean, have you ever read, like, some of the later on Ghost in the Shell manga?
I haven't. I have seen all of Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, and that's the extent of what I've seen of Ghost in the Shell.
So there's a manga. I'm pretty sure it's standalone complex, or it follows basically like after the release of that series.
Yeah, it's called like standalone complex, like 2A or something like that.
Yeah, and that manga series does a really good job of. Now I'm not going to say that Deus Ex, what like the later on were kind of like inspired by, but there's a lot of concepts of like, what does it mean to be human when you don't have a real body? Especially in that series, Major was really big on taking over other people's bodies. She had this foreign diplomat body that she just had stored away that she would use and pretend like she was a whole different person. It became super existential with the concepts of what is a human soul, what is a human psyche, what is a human body. I'm just thinking of like we were saying earlier, I think that would be something you might like to just read. I mean, the art's phenomenal. But yeah, just the concepts of human trends, like transcending, and like most people said that human evolution should be our physical form, and a lot of now are going towards like, well, electronics will cause force evolution, which I don't know. I'm in the middle of that. I think that because again, like I love genetics and I love like regenerative medicine. There's things that humans can do that way, but I'm also a big advocate of prosthesis and like just what electronics can do. But I don't want it to be like plastic surgery. I don't want people to be like, oh, you know what? I don't want my arms, so I'm gonna get new arms. More than just like, because being ex-military, people who've lost limbs, getting them replaced because it helps their lives, kind of thing.
And I completely agree with that concept, but I think that as we grow into that kind of technology, I do think we are absolutely going to see a mass exodus of people who are unhappy with how strong their arms look, how strong their legs look, what their legs and arms can accomplish. And I think that is going to be not to sound doomsday-ish, but I think that it is going to be a massive downfall of us as a complete race of humans, right? I think it's going to be a massive downfall. Species is what I meant to say, not race. It's like, I think it's going to be a massive downfall. I think that people are going to play into that. People are going to buy into that. People are going to consistently use it. And I think much like what Deus Ex perpetrates, it is going to become a toxic portion of our lives. I don't know when that will happen. I doubt it will happen in my lifetime, but it's like, I feel like eventually we will reach that point, and eventually the people who need it might not still be able to get it. And that's what's such BS to me, is that I think that it will always be a part of our profiting off medical fields, and it will play into that.
Yeah, so I feel like, so that's like watching like just the story unfold with Deus Ex. That was one of my like agitations and my anxieties about it, because I was like saying like because there's a really amazing TED talk where the guy talks about how 1912 the first phone was invented. So 1912, you have your phones and like just the hello operator, yes please connect me. But then in 1912 the hook prosthetic, the little clamp hook prosthetic, was also invented. And then just at the time, 2012, look what a phone looks like now. But default prosthetics in 2012 were still the hook. That has changed very little from its original design. And so that was kind of disheartening. But then looking at like how, take at phones in general. So you had your flip phone as a kid, or just anyone who had a flip phone, and any new phone is super hard to get and it's just expensive. But then after a while, you have like developing countries that have like flip phones and now touchscreen phones. And so I think yeah, fatalist, there's a chance where it's just like, well, human beings will stop relying on nature and start going towards technology. But realist, there's always going to be the people who are like, no, I like to be natural. Just like how like I have a tattoo, but I can't say that everyone has tattoos. And it's just when it becomes a concept of a necessity. So you'll have your people who want to be harder, faster, stronger. But I think there'll also be people who are just like, because you have the guys just with working out. There's some guys that will take steroids, but then you have your natural bodybuilders. Even though like the ideas of beauty and concept of getting big and so forth. And you have the people who's a weird way to say get off on being like straight edge or being natural. So I feel like with that big push where someone can remove their lower jaw to put on like a different jaw, there will be a pushback where people will go, no, I've been made like this, and evolving through breeding and genetics would be better. So I don't know.
Well, do we want to move into this final segment kind of thing?
Sure, we can do that. Have a little spot.
I'm on board.
All right. So we do a little segment. Do you want to do the what are you watching, playing, reading, listening to?
Yes.
So Zach, what are you watching, playing, reading, listening to?
In that order. I am watching currently The Boys on Amazon Prime. I highly recommend that. I am watching Rick and Morty. Season 4 just got released on Hulu. Big fan of that. And actually, I recommend my last little visual recommendation for that. I recommend everybody watches Solar Opposites, which is available on Hulu, and it's made by Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland, who make Rick and Morty, but it is a completely different show, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's supposed to only run for 2 seasons, they said. And the second season is supposed to come out sometime in 2021. It got pushed back because of COVID, but I highly recommend it. It's Rick and Morty, but smarter and funnier, honestly, in my opinion. Now, I might get some hate for that, but it is smarter and funnier than Rick and Morty, and it is Justin Roiland's pinnacle, in my opinion. In terms of what I am reading, the last thing I read was, I don't remember who wrote it, but I read a book called How to Make Friends, and it's from the 30s, and I can't remember the name of this book. It's a book about basically how you learn to have interest in other people's interests. I'm someone who has struggled a lot with empathy and struggled a lot with having the ability to listen to other people's interests and then try to create my own thoughts of it. And I would say that it has helped me immensely. So I recommend that. It's called, I heard it on the Ear Biscuits podcast, which, by the way, I was going to get into when you said listening to, but forget it. We're just going to move on. But in terms of listening, I recommend everybody listens to Driveways. They are a band who I absolutely love. I also recommend everybody listen to a Finnish pop punk band called Sunrise Avenue. They sing in English, so if you don't speak Finnish, don't worry about it. And also I recommend the podcast Ear Biscuits, made by Rhett and Link of Good Mythical Morning.
Yes.
That's a fantastic podcast. They're insanely intelligent men, and it's changed my life listening to that podcast. I'm not even joking. They have taught me stuff about my life that has been incredible, just by listening. So I recommend all that.
Now, was it how to win friends or how to make because there's a how to win friends and influence people?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. How to win friends and influence people. Yeah, that's the book that I was going to recommend.
Dale Carnegie.
Yep, by Dale Carnegie. There you go. That's exactly it.
It's funny enough. It's saved in my bookmarks for a book.
Well, I recommend reading it. I learned about it in Rhett and Link's podcast, Ear Biscuits, where they talked about Rhett having read it, and then I read a bit of it myself, and I think it's very good. Link makes the joke in the episode that it's how to manipulate people and buy friends, but it's not. It's literally about teaching you how to properly show interest in other people's interests, and about how that can create such a connection with other people that you can bond with them. And I feel like it's insanely important for everybody to learn those kind of skills.
Yes. So what are you playing?
Video game wise, right now I am playing I'll be real. I'm playing because I don't believe in paying for it every year. I'm playing Madden 20. Because Madden 20 and Madden 21 are the exact same game. Sorry to burst anybody's bubble, but I'm playing Madden 20. I'm playing Crusader Kings 3.
Tarkov.
Well, hopefully. I'm playing Crusader Kings 3. I'm playing Imperator Rome. I play a lot of Paradox video games. And I am playing Just Cause 4 right now.
Ooh. It's a good game.
It's fun. I'll give it that much.
Yes. But I like the mechanics of it more than like the story.
I like the battles concept where like you can always find like wars on the front line and you can like go and help your allies to like fight off the invasion at any time. I like that a lot.
Khaled, would you like to go next?
With what?
The segment, or do you want to just end it?
Yeah, 'cause usually with our interviews, we just ask the guests what they are doing
We
versus
did it one time. Just saying.
because we're running to 12:03 now.
Yeah, we're running over time. I brought you all over time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Perfectly fine. So, Senior Zach,
Yes, sir.
if people listen to the podcast and want to find you anywhere on like YouTube or wherever, where do they find you?
I'm available at youtube.com/ and this is not a joke, and it is spelled how it sounds, Commander Gobblecock. And I'm also available on Twitch at twitch.tv/ Commander Gobblecock.
Alrighty. And that will be it for tonight's podcast. If you enjoyed tonight's podcast, please think about giving us a follow. And we live stream every Tuesday from 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 12 a.m. And every other Friday, same time, but with a guest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be it.
Yeah, I will also thank Zach for our guest Zach for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I had a wonderful time tonight.
All right.